Anybody have middle school or high school students? Yeah. Okay, so this might be personally interesting to you as well as professionally interesting to some people here. Um, whoa, we're jumping. That's okay. Back to the front. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so imagine if you had troves of data around college that could help you figure out the costs, financial aid, and outcomes of this very complicated process. And what if we inverted the process and started with a student thinking differently? We might just be able to help our kids and the future that we want for them. I'm Christopher Grillo. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Irnerius. We're an ed tech platform, and we are a B2C, I've been told, one of the first B2Cs to build on Foundry. And I want to talk about our use case, just give you a foundation of what the problem is. Uh, Anybody have a college graduation year that starts with 19? Anybody? Okay, good. So you got to bypass this inflation that we've seen for the past generation. I assume many people have seen this. This is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and of course, you have some chosen services and goods and the average inflation over the past generation. You can see higher education is up there on the top right, almost 3 times as expensive as it was a generation ago. And if you graduated in 19 whatever, it'll be close to 4 times as expensive when your kids go to school. So a very expensive proposition, uh, and there are a lot of data points. Um, it is higher education is an inefficient market. It's complex. People are misinformed. People are making uninformed decisions. Um, the average expense per student is $30,000. The average household income in the United States is 85,000. So you're pushing 40% of the average household income is going towards, on average, going towards higher education. We spend just over 2% of GDP on higher ed. There are many challenges for students, parents, and counselors. Counselors are seeing, on average, 225 students to one. Uh, the impact, uh, sorry, I can't read my own notes here. I'm sorry. So there's important data across a dozen different locations within the federal government and what's offered from colleges and universities. And it's important that we want to aggregate that into one place. Students are spending other people's money. This is a complicated process as well. They're spending their parents' money, and they're spending federal government money, and they're spending state money. And so that helps with the inefficiencies in the system. And even if you can afford it, should you? And so this is how the average family spends their money on college. The majority of it comes from parent and student savings. Uh, Parents borrow, students borrow, each at around 10%. There's a sizable chunk that comes from scholarships, different types of scholarships, university scholarships, individual scholarships, your town or city scholarship. And students are paying as well from their own income and savings. Okay, so what is all this data? There's Department of Education data, a college scorecard, you have grant volume, you have loan volume, iPads is out there. Some of it is delayed, so you have to aggregate it in order to have a complete data set. You have Bureau of Labor Statistics, US Census. All this is really important. Major matters more than where you went to school from an outcomes perspective based on your outcome salary. And so that really is important to come from New York Fed, the US Census, Bureau of Labor Statistics. The Federal Audit Clearinghouse has data on college universities and their general operations. These are PDFs. This is a project that is upcoming for us. Has anybody heard of the Common Data Set? Common Data Set is about 400 schools. They fill out a common data set, and it's used by all the agencies that rank schools. They've made this kind of blanket agreement. And that's also PDFs. That's actually the very next project that we're working on. There's thousands of scholarships. And of course, the most important data point is the student. So we've built something where students put in their own personal information. It's safe and secure in Foundry. And then the tool that we built and continue to build is uh, adapting to their personal preferences. So this is our solution. It's kind of personalization, college search, and financial planning. The financial planning piece is really important. Uh, Most counselors leave that piece out, and so we've tried to embed that here. Um, this is kind of leading to one illiquid decision. It's very challenging and very expensive for students to stop and start, transfer out, and make different decisions. We find this to be a breakthrough with Palantir. This is kind of the right time, and this will be important for as long as colleges and universities are. So we think we're onto something, and we've had good feedback from our current customers, and we are rolling this out to a school next week. So I want to show you. Yes, I do say thank you at the end. I want to show you what we've built so far, and even based on the sessions I've seen today, I was like, okay, we have to build that too. So there's a lot of pieces that we want to build. So a student comes in. I've generally pre-populated this, but this is live. You can go in, and this is my kind of personal instance, and then I have a professional instance where we can build on the side. So you come in and you can kind of choose who you are and where you are in your life, what city you live, sorry, what state you live in. That's important for state tuition, which of course changes from state to state. And so a student would come in here and answer a number of questions. I'm a parent, so I answered on behalf of my daughter and things that she's interested in. These are all qualitative questions. There's also quantitative information that we continue to put in, but this gets fed into the LLM, and all the answers there are then tailored to the student. I'm happy to be interrupted if you have questions as we go. And so then this is kind of just a interesting slide rule. There's kind of 12 different choices that we've built here. We've had feedback that there should be more or there could be less. And so we think 12 is perfectly fine if we get both sides of that. But all the kind of different preferences that a student might have, and just re-rank them as you see fit. I'm not going to take much time with that. And then have you fill out the FAFSA yet? My daughter's a fifth grader, so we haven't filled out the FAFSA yet. But you can tailor these as much as you want and make sure that you have answers that are appropriate to to your family. And then we can help make recommendations from there. So then you put in, there's from that common data set that I referenced earlier, there's academic and non-academic factors that are considered. So we've just essentially built that whole, well, something failed to load. Okay, we'll have to fix that. We just essentially built whatever the university is going to consider based on their criteria and acceptance. And then that saves, and then you can register and explore. So then the first thing that you might choose to explore is Ernie. Ernie is our chatbot. It's essentially white labeled GPT-5 Mini. And does anybody want to ask a question? And we could see what Ernie says. No one? Who had a middle schooler over there? Yeah. Go ahead.
What are the average ACT scores for could we pick all in your
Sure. I'm spell. I can't type when I'm in the front of 30 people.
no then
Is it because it's lowercase? Okay. Let's see if we. So this is querying these objects. All these objects are in here. Admissions. I mean, you can read them. Can you read them? I'll read them in case they're small in the back. Admissions aid, completion rates, cost, demographic metrics, earnings, program of study. Similar schools, we have that as a reference point. The school itself is a data point, Pell Grants, and then student. So I don't know why it's thinking so hard on this. It should have it. Oh, sorry. he said
I said this.
he said ACT. So there's SATs and ACTs. So this is actually interesting to see if it actually pulls up SAT scores versus ACT scores. It's an alternative, exactly. It's an alternative to the SAT. I don't know why it's thinking so hard.
Okay.
That's not shouldn't be a hard question. Okay, 34. There we go. And I do think that that is correct. It only goes to 36, so it's not far off. Okay, so thank God that worked. Appreciate the easier question. It should, so here it should mention Harvard in the response. Let's see if it is. This is trickier. Hmm, it worked yesterday. Okay, we'll have to fix that. Um, should mention your schools in the response, and then you can add them to your favorites. So I have pre-added some favorites to my list here. So you have your favorite schools, and you can explore these however as much as you want. You can add more schools. If you click into a school, so here's Dallas Baptist. It has all the general information that you would want and get from other schools. You have similar schools. Let's see if this has my similar schools. And then if you ask Ernie a question here, Ernie will, you can ask Ernie a question at any point in time throughout. You have student body information, demographics, federal funding. All of this, is important. It comes in when students are doing their research. So one thing so you can do quick compares between two schools. You can compare them side by side, compare all your schools, and then we have some macro analysis that we've built. This is particularly interesting for people who like data. Okay, so Harvard is going to be over here in 35 somewhere. Yep. So in my favorite schools, Rice is one of my favorite schools, so that's noted in blue here, and their acceptance rate is almost 8%. But there's another school that has an average ACT score of 35, same average ACT score, but they have an acceptance rate of 21. So using this chart, students might be able to find some schools that you'd find equally intelligent students at, but then there's a little bit easier chance to get in. So Franklin Olin is down the street from me. I actually can run there from my house. Um, it's probably not a school that many people have heard of, but they have excellent students and excellent outcomes. And so these students kind of on the outside of this curve, these schools are potentially interesting. So this is ACT, SAT, and then average, and then admissions rates. And then these are ACT, and then the total cost. So you see this bimodal distribution. Um, hopefully everybody can guess that the ones at the top are the private schools and the ones at the bottom are the public schools. Same bimodal distribution here. So all of this is kind of important for students to see. We think that this is interesting. So this chart says if it's green, it's cheaper, red is more expensive, and then is admissions rate and median earnings on the axes. So you would love to go to a school that's up in here and green because they have high admissions rate, they're cheap, and you can make a lot of money. So the best we can do is some yellows with Albany College of Pharmacy and so health sciences schools that are particularly um, appealing. Bentley's out here. Who's this out here? MIT and Harvey Mudd. Harvey Mudd's out there too. So there's different ways that you can look at schools and see how they compare to others. There are 4,000 degree granting institutions, and so the asymmetric imbalance of the data that exists in the marketplace, you only get to hear what the universities want you to hear. There's some data that we've been able to compile, and the way we've organized it and are trying to analyze it makes it a little bit more, uh, tilt the favor towards students and parents. This is always an interesting conversation, the discount rate. So this discount rate These schools have essentially no discount rate, and these schools have a high discount rate. Princeton's over here, and I don't know who's over here. Schools that I have not heard of as much. West Coast University of Los Angeles. Well, that was an interesting one because I think that they are heavy, heavy uh, health sciences also. There's also, we have labor market outlook and state funding trends. This was a very interesting one. I'm sorry for the women in the room. We have male salary versus female salary by university. That was a shocking uh, data to look at. This is not anywhere that we could find anywhere else. It comes from the federal government, but it's essentially suppressed. We think that there's a researcher who wants to do some research on this. Brigham Young is the worst, if in case anybody's noted. And Brigham Young, Idaho is number 2. So I was like, now, in fairness, I don't think that we can blame the universities, but it isn't good that there are some universities that have greater parity than others. So saying, I don't societal issue, but I don't know. University might have something to do with it. Okay, and then here, this is where you might select a major, select a career, and then select a college. It will provide a breakdown of what salaries you can expect from each. How much time do I have? I have a little time. People want to see how this works. So if I want to be a biology major and go into, there's hundreds of different, I don't know, what do biology majors do? That was a poor, animal scientists. Okay, great. From Dallas Baptist. So there are essentially no biology majors who also go into uh, animal sciences. But so you have this projected wage of 53,000. The average wage of a new grad is about 65. Just so you know that the expectation of our young adults is about 100. So they're a little bit off when they're projecting salaries, and they underestimate how much they're going to borrow, which is they're going in the wrong direction. If they went in the opposite direction, that would actually be better for them. Overestimate your borrowing and underestimate your salary, you actually might be on track. And so then here, a student can come through and estimate how much aid they're going to get. And then we wanted to project a debt repayment calculation for them. This is not working to it. But if you fill out all the information, I'm not going to bore you with filling in the information. But if you fill in the information, it shows you that where your debt repayment burden should be is between 8 and 10%. And if it's over that, you'd want to make more so that you can cover that. But only half of students ever, before they take on debt, project their borrowing, their debt repayment. And that's a problem. So if we provide the tools to students and parents, we think that they actually might be able to make different or at least more informed decisions, and we can help with this complex process. Maybe we get back to my slides and I can flip back. So I'm told we're one of the first BDC companies building on Foundry. We're really excited to help lead the way, and we're happy to answer any questions. So thank you for your attention and your time today. Yeah.